Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia and I'll be with you for the next hour. As our regular viewers are aware, the Free Legal Advice Show provides you, our viewers, the opportunity to call in and ask us any questions that you have on any aspect of English law. On this show, I should be able to cover a vast, diverse range of matters. Matters ranging from immigration law matters, family law matters, criminal law matters. So whatever your legal questions are, please feel free to get in touch with us live on this show. We get numerous questions on immigration law, which is absolutely fantastic. However, as I've just mentioned, there are other areas that I can advise on as well. Two ways to get in touch with us. First of all, you can give me a ring on our landline number and speak to me live on air in relation to any questions that you have. Secondly, a very popular way of getting in touch is to send us a WhatsApp message on the mobile number, which also appears at the bottom of the screen. I'll receive your WhatsApp message here live in the studio, and I'll be able to address any questions that you have live on air. So to speak to me live on air, you can give me a ring on the landline number, and to send me a message, you can do so on the mobile number, which appears at the bottom of the screen. Couple of very minor points before we get going. On a live show, it's not always possible to take very detailed information from viewers who call in. If your matter is complex, I will ask you to leave your number with the control room, and I'm happy to have a more thorough discussion with you off air. Alternatively, sometimes I need to look at documents before I can advise you properly. If it's the case that I do need to look at your documents before I can advise you properly, again, I'll ask you to leave your number with the control room. I'll arrange to look at your documents, and I will have a more thorough discussion with you off air. And again, this is a service that we provide completely free of charge as part of the Free Legal Advice Show. So get in touch. Landline number is the number that you call on to speak to me live on air and to send me a mobile a message. It's the mobile number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Now, as we were coming on live on air, we've already received a number of questions already. So let me address some of those questions which have been coming in already. Looking at one of the first questions that we've had, it's an immigration law question. And the viewer asks, hi, we applied for my daughter-in-law's spouse visa approximately 14 weeks ago, but we've not had a reply. How long do they take to make decisions? So this is a spouse application that was made approximately 14 weeks ago. It looks like no decision has been made, and our viewer wants an idea as to how long it takes for these kind of applications to be decided. Now, normally where spouse applications are made from abroad, in my experience, normally we get decisions in about 3 to 4 months. I'll address the time issue in more detail, but we have a caller who's on the line waiting. So let's go to our first call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum.
वालेकुम सलाम। अल्लाह से एक क्वेश्चन है
जी जी।
आदमी आता पाकिस्तान से, मेरा भाई दोस्त एक आया है
जी, okay.
उसका वीजा लगा है 2.5 ईयर, 2.5 साल का।
Right, okay.
तो इधर उसका बीवी से झगड़ा हो गया, तो वो उसको वापस भेजना चाहती है, तो उसका क्या प्रोसीजर होगा?
ओके, ऑलराइट। अब उसके कोई बच्चे हैं यहाँ यूके में?
बच्चे नहीं है, बच्चे नहीं है।
ऑलराइट, ओके, ठीक है।
उसका बीवी के साथ झगड़ा हो गया, बीवी उसको वापस भेजना, आगे से वो यानी वीजा नहीं लगवा रहे।
अभी क्या लगता है, वो सेपरेट हो गए हैं कि अभी दोनों साथ?
सेपरेट हो गए हैं।
और कितना टाइम से वो सेपरेट है?
तकरीबन उसको 1.5 साल हो गया, 1 ईयर और 6 मंथ हो गए।
1 ईयर एंड 6 मंथ्स। तो अभी तक उसकी जो वाइफ है उसने होम ऑफिस को कुछ बता दिया है या अभी तक उसको नहीं बताया होम ऑफिस को?
नहीं, अभी तक वो नहीं गई, तो लेकिन आगे से वो वीजा नहीं लगवा रही, वो बोलती है मैं इसको वापस भेजना है।
जी मैं समझ गया जी भाई
उसका क्या प्रोसीजर होगा?
जी भाई थैंक
तो
यू
दूसरा सवाल ये मेरा है, वर्क परमिट वीजा पाकिस्तान से लगवाना, उसका क्या प्रोसीजर है?
ऑलराइट ओके ठीक है भाई थैंक यू वेरी मच आपका कॉल के लिए मैं ये दोनों जो आपके क्वेश्चंस हैं उसका मैं जवाब अभी दे दूंगा जज़ाकल्लाह थैंक यू वेरी मच आपके
थैंक यू वेरी मच
Thank you very much indeed. So, two questions raised by our viewer. First question, again, something that you come across quite regularly in practice. The first question that he put to me in Urdu was this, that his brother is here in the United Kingdom on a spouse visa. As our viewers will be aware, spouse visas are normally granted for approximately 2.5 years. So, brother's here on a spouse visa at the moment. And there has been some difficulties with the marriage. It looks like that they have been living separately for a while, and the wife has suggested that she wants him to be returned to his home country. And certainly when it comes to extending the spouse visa after 2.5 years, she has made it clear that she isn't prepared to do that. So brother is here on a spouse visa. Hasn't expired yet, but there has been some marital difficulties, and the wife's position is that she wants basically for him to go back, and certainly has made it clear that the visa will not be extended by her. Basically, she won't support the visa extension application. Now, in practice, this is something that you come across quite regularly. I asked our viewer a rather important question, which is whether they have any children or not. And our viewer informed me that they don't have any children at all. Quite important because if there were children from the relationship here, then that could alter the advice that I would be giving to the brother who's here. Now, what is the legal position? Well, the position, unfortunately, is fairly clear. Where someone is granted a spouse visa in the United Kingdom to come to the United Kingdom, they are not. They are effectively. You are effectively living in the UK during a probationary period. Effectively, if the marriage works out, ultimately after 5 years, it leads to indefinite leave to remain. If the marriage doesn't work out, then you can't continue to live here on the basis of the original visa, which is that you're here to join your spouse in the United Kingdom. Now, if there are no children, as is the case here, and the marriage breaks down, there is a risk that if the wife was to inform the Home Office that the marriage has broken down, that there are no children, then the Home Office could take the step of curtailing the brother's visa. So if the brother's got 6 months, a year or so left on his visa, the Home Office could take steps to bring that visa to an end. It looks like that hasn't been done yet, but there's always a risk. The wife could inform the Home Office of the breakdown of the relationship. This is something that is done quite easily by email to the Home Office. And if she was to do that, then the likely outcome would be that the marriage has come to an end, which would result in the visa being brought to an end as well. So that's a great difficulty here. I will address this in a bit more detail, but in essence, the visa could be brought to an end. You would have to look at whether you can go into a different visa route. The Home Office would give you 2 months, 60 days to do that. We'll look at the options after we've taken the next call. We've got a brother who's waiting on live on air. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum. You're live on air.
How are you here, brother?
Alhamdulillah, ji. How are you? You okay?
Alhamdulillah. Brother, my question was, mashallah, my wife's been here for just over a year now.
Understand.
And basically, I wanted to ask, like, what is obviously you got the visa for 2.5 years, so if you go back to Pakistan now, so how long can she sort of stay there for? Is there a limit sort of thing, or what is it?
Sorry, is she looking at going abroad, did you say? Sorry. Didn't quite...
Yeah, back to Pakistan.
Back to Pakistan. Look, there are no strict rules about how much time you can spend outside the UK. I generally advise clients that in a year, if you were to be outside the UK for around 3 months, it's not going to be a problem. But there are no strict rules as to how long you're allowed to stay outside the UK. How long is she planning to stay outside the UK?
Just for a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks is absolutely no problem at all. Sometimes people do need to stay out longer. There might be a family member who's unwell, etc. My view generally is around 3 months, it's not a problem. If you stay out longer, then on the extension, on the indefinite leave application, we would have to explain why there's been a longer period of absence. But brother, in answer to your question, a couple of weeks is absolutely no problem at all.
Okay.
So nothing.
I had one other question for you, brother.
Sure.
That is, obviously after 2.5 years when the visa comes for renewal again.
Yeah.
And is that the same procedure? You got to show the 18,000 salary, and you got to be
more or less identical. So the main requirement is the income requirement has to be fulfilled. So £18,600 per annum. What you can do is you can show your wife's income as well this time. So obviously when you initially sponsored her, it would have just been your income. But this time on the extension, if your wife is working, you can show her income as well. But there is a strict £18,600 requirement. There are some exceptions, but generally speaking, 18,600 requirement does apply.
Okay. Thank you.
The other thing you need to remember, brother, is she will need to pass the English test as well. Initially, when she came here, she did the A1 test. This time, she's going to have to do the A2 test, which is slightly harder.
When does that be done?
It's valid for 2 years, so you can do it now if you want.
Okay.
Is it okay? Brilliant. Brother, thank you very much for your call. Jazakallah. No problem at all. Jazakallah for your call. So, generally speaking, on an extension, we're following a similar format. We're meeting the financial requirement again at the extension stage. There is an English language requirement, slightly higher than what was done initially to come to the United Kingdom. And you're going to have to show that you've been living together for the last 2 years. That's normally done by showing letters, bills coming to the same address. So hope that answers that question. We're taking a short break. We'll be back in the next couple of minutes. A couple of points arising from these two questions. We'll address that at that stage. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please call on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. As always, if you want to send a WhatsApp message in with your question, you can do so on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. Okay, we've got a caller who's been waiting for a while. Let's go to our next call. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you.
I would like to ask a question regarding the benefit. Example, I used to receive a benefit, universal credit.
Understand.
Yeah, but now they stopped it. I think they found out I've got some money in my account. So how is going to work it out? Like, example, if I wanted to claim again the benefit.
Okay. So when you apply for universal credit, for universal credit, there are some savings rules which apply.
Sorry, I can't hear you properly.
So it might be that you're very close to your TV. I don't know whether if you move away, you might be able to hear me. But with universal credit, there are some savings limits. If you have less than £6,000 in savings, then you're not affected. You will get your full universal credit entitlement.
Okay.
Then you have another band from £6,000 to, from my recollection, and I'm not 100% sure, I think it's between £6,000 to £12,000. There is a sliding scale for the money that you have. The more that you have, the less universal credit that they give you. Then there's another amount, I think it's £12,000, over which you don't get universal credit at all. So I don't know how much you have in savings. Are you able to give me a rough idea how much you've got? Is it more than £10,000 or?
I think I've got over 10,000.
Okay, I think that's where the difficulty is. I think your savings was so much that you became not entitled to universal credit. Now, what now happens is you've got to use the money up, and you can't. You might be asked to explain how you've used the money up as well. So you can't give the money away, but you have to use your money up normally as you would for your expenses. Maybe if it's the case that there's some work that needs to be done in the house, etc., you would have to use your money up. Certainly, if your savings were to come down significantly, certainly if it's below £6,000, then your savings will not prevent you from getting universal credit. So you're going to have to use your savings up normally as you would. Once it comes down to a certain level, you'll be able to claim universal credit.
Okay. So, example, if because their money are not mine, they are my nephews.
Yeah.
So, if I didn't use them, and if I want, what is going to happen? Like, are they going to take any reaction on me or what?
Okay. If it's your nephew's money, then the problem is you will have to prove to them that it is your nephew's money. The problem is
I did prove them, but they say it's like they are in your account, so that's your money. That's why they keep telling me.
Okay. Have they given you the right of appeal? Right to appeal, to review the decision?
No, they didn't tell me to appeal or whatever.
Okay.
But they said like that we know that it is in your account, so that's your money.
Okay. Sister, the best option for you is to speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau. You should be able to challenge this decision. You have the right to have it reviewed, but you're better off speaking to somebody at your local Citizens Advice Bureau or the law centre with a view to getting this reviewed. You need to do that. But thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
much. For the action.
Yes, I mean, it may be if you're able to demonstrate that it's not your money, they may be willing to change.
Yes, I did demonstrate so many times because they called me about 2 or 3 times, and I did demonstrate on the phone to them, and I did write it them too as well, and they still keep telling me that same thing.
I understand. Now, I think speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau. If in the end they don't accept it, you may have to return the money to your nephew and then apply again. But before you do anything, I would speak to the Citizens Advice Bureau in relation to this first.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you very much, sister, for your call.
Okay,
I hope you managed to resolve your issue. We've got another caller waiting, so let's go to our next call. Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. You're live on air. What's your question, brother?
I understand the minimum income threshold is £18,600 per year for a spouse visa.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
But I also understand, which I heard, but not clearly, that instead of that, if one doesn't have that much level of income, if you have a certain amount of lump sum lying in your savings account, one can still sponsor a spouse.
That's right.
I need to know, sir, from your side, what is that lump sum amount? What is the minimum level of that savings?
Okay. So the way the savings requirement works is that if you have £62,500, £62,500.
£62,500.
If you have that much in savings, then you don't need to show any other income at all. So you don't have to show now. So now, if
this 62,500, does it need to be accumulated over a period of time, or you can just deposit, like if I say I have 40,000, and then I want to deposit another 22,500.
Sure. I understand.
Can that be done, or they will?
It can be done. But what the Home Office will require you to demonstrate is that you have held the savings for 6 months. That's the starting point. So if you manage, so if you build your account up to, let's say, £65,000, once you built it up, that money has to be in the account for 6 months from then.
Oh, I see. So only a 6 months period. Balance of 62 and a half or slightly over. Only then. So spouse visa can be applied for after
Yeah.
Say in the 7th month.
After 6 months, right?
After 6
Now, the Home Office will ask you to sign a declaration saying it's your money and you can spend it as it is. That normally isn't a problem. But let's say you've got less money. Let's say you've got £40,000 in your bank account. £40,000
Yes.
in your bank account. So the way it then works is that you can still use your savings, but in addition to your savings, you will need to show some income, but not the full amount. So it won't be £18,600 that you need to show. You'll need to show approximately, and I'm guessing here, approximately about £12,000 in income. So there's a formula for working out how much income you need to show depending on the amount of savings you have. If I give you another example, let's say you've only got £20,000 in savings. Then the income that you're going to have to show is about not 18,600, but about 17,000 pounds. So there's a sliding scale that we use. At 62,500, at the full amount, if you hold that for 6 months, you don't have to show any income at all. Just savings of 62,500 is sufficient.
So as an applicant, you can rely only on one kind of criteria, either the lump sum amount or the income.
No. You can do both, no? So let's say you've got, in the example that I gave you, let's say you've got £50,000 of savings. So you can rely on your £50,000 of savings, but that's not the full required amount. So you will have to show some income as well. Some, for example, employment income. But now the employment income will be less because you've got £50,000 in savings. The income requirement will be, let's say, approximately £10,000 a year or £12,000. There's a way of working out. The more savings you've got, the less you have to show in terms of income.
Right.
So you can combine both.
Now I see it can be combined also. Basically, in my particular case, my employer's company, I was a company director over there.
Okay.
The company has decided to close down because of the COVID impact over the last couple of years.
I understand.
So my job from that, my income from that job is gone. Otherwise, I was earning I was earning like 22,000 pounds per year.
How much
so
do you
it has suddenly slashed. So that income is gone.
I understand. How much do you think you might be able to get together in savings? How much do you think you'll be able to get together? How much do you think you can get together in savings? In terms of money, how much can you get into your bank account, do you think?
Actually, I had another part-time job.
Okay.
Where I drew down 7,200 per year, 600 pounds a month.
I understand, yeah.
That is my current income.
Okay.
So I will have to go for this lump sum because the difference is too much, isn't it?
Okay.
18,600 and...
So at the moment, in your part-time job, how much money, you gave me a figure. If you just give me sort of an accurate figure, I'll do the precise calculations for you. How much are you receiving in terms of salary at the moment in your part-time job?
How much money I have parked in the savings account?
So in your part-time job, how much are you getting at the moment?
7,200
per year. Per year, yeah. Okay, I understand.
That job is still continuing.
Okay.
And, no problem with its,
Okay.
It won't be terminated.
Yeah, but it's gonna carry on, né? So we're short by about 11,400.
Yes.
Okay. So
11,400. Yes.
I'm just doing a rough calculation for you. You will need savings of approximately £45,000. So if you had savings of £45,000,
okay,
and you carried on with this part-time job,
yes,
that would be sufficient.
And then very soon I will be drawing pension as well, state pension. So that will be another, I think, 500-600 pounds a month.
Yeah, absolutely. So then instead of £45,000, that's going to then reduce more. If your state pension is about £170 a week or something, that will reduce the amount more. So we can combine both. we first of all look at your income. We look at your part-time income. We look at your state pension. We look at that, and then work out, okay, how do we deal with the deficit? How the shortfall? How much do we need in savings? Is it £45,000? We might be able to get away with £30,000, but that's the way we do it. Work out our income and then work out how much we need in savings after that. But it's doable. It's doable. It's doable.
Mm-hmm. So if I draw £150 per week state pension, so we can add another 7,200. So
yes, we can do that.
Income would be 14,400.
So, brother, we're going to be taking a short break. What I'm going to do, I'm going to do the calculations during our break. As soon as I come back, I'll tell you what the figures are. Okay, I will be back in the next couple of minutes. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, to send me a message, you can do so on the mobile number which also appears at the bottom of the screen. We've got a brother who's been waiting a while. We spoke to him just before the break and we were looking at the possibility of combining income and savings to meet the financial requirement in order to sponsor a wife to come to the United Kingdom. Assalamu alaikum, brother. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm still on the phone. Yes.
Thank you for waiting. Now, the break has given me an opportunity to actually do the calculations, so I can give you some more firm advice instead of guessing the figures. Now,
thank you,
brother. If we work on the basis that in terms of your employment, the part-time employment, you will be earning £7,200 per year, plus you will be getting a state pension of approximately £150 a week. Now, we'll be able to combine both the part-time employment and the state pension. When we combine both, your income will be approximately £15,000 per year. So obviously still a bit short, but it's £15,000 a year, part-time employment and your state pension. Now, we're short by, the requirement obviously is £18,600, so we're short by £3,600. Now, I've done the calculations in terms of how much do you need in savings to cover that. The amount you need is £25,000 in savings. So there's a formula that you apply to it, and based on those figures, you need savings of £25,000. So that gives you an idea. And the savings, as we said before, the savings have to be in your bank account for 6 months before you can rely on them. So it's doable. Your part-time employment income, your state pension, and savings of £25,000. That would work. That would work.
That's good news, actually. Thank you.
No problem at all. Thank you. I hope that answers your question properly.
Yes, thoroughly. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for holding on, and thank you very much for your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, thank you.
Jazakallah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Right. We've had a number of questions coming in on WhatsApp, and I do need to go to them. Okay. Now, the next question that's come in, again, an immigration law question. The question is this. Let me read the question out and let's then address it. My friend is a British citizen. She wants to marry a person with no documents and he has no pending case. So no documents, I'm assuming, means that he's an overstayer in the United Kingdom. What can my friend do to get the Islamic marriage done? Can you assist in relation to this? So, friend is a British citizen and wants to marry a person who has no stay in the United Kingdom. Now, at this stage, what they're looking at is getting married under Islamic law. So, from an immigration law perspective, there isn't much to do, or there isn't much that can be done. So, as far as the Islamic marriage is concerned, obviously, one possibility is you contact your local mosque for the Islamic marriage to be performed. If you can't do that, you need to speak to, ideally, a scholar who can conduct the Islamic marriage for both of you. And that would be obviously sufficient for your Islamic marriage. Now, as far as the Home Office is concerned, immigration is concerned, you don't need to get in touch with the Home Office. You don't need to ask for permission or anything of that nature. When it comes to having a civil marriage, getting married at a registry office, that's obviously slightly more complicated. You'd have to approach the registrar, the designated registry office. You'd need proof of identification, normally your passport, in order to proceed with the civil marriage. They would normally inform the Home Office, and it could well be that the Home Office would want to interview you as well in relation to the proposed marriage. So there's a whole process that is followed, and that is a bit more complex. But that is to do with a civil marriage, the marriage that takes place at before a registrar. However, when it comes to an Islamic marriage, you don't have all these hurdles to get over. You would, either normally have the Islamic marriage conducted at your local mosque, or if that's not possible, you could contact a scholar who would be able to conduct the marriage. So there's no legal formalities as such that you would need to go through. So whatever our religious requirements are, those would need to be fulfilled in order for there to be an Islamic marriage. Now, my advice is this, that if the partner has no immigration status, the reality is the civil marriage isn't really going to assist with any immigration application anyway. The reality is that the only way, generally speaking, the partner who has overstayed will get a visa to live in the United Kingdom without having to go back. We'll get a visa here by applying here. We'll get a visa to stay here in the United Kingdom. He will only be able to do that, generally speaking, if from the marriage, from the Islamic marriage, there is a child. The child would be British because the partner is British. The child would be British. On the basis of the British child, it is normally, there are exceptions, but it is normally possible for the partner who's overstayed to be able to get leave to remain in the United Kingdom. So the fact that they haven't undergone a civil marriage is neither here nor there. That's not necessary. Islamic marriage is absolutely fine. Any future application for leave to remain, the reality is, will only succeed when there is a child from the marriage. The child would obviously be British because the other partner is British. Nationality would be passed down to the child. So practically speaking, and this is what I advise my clients regularly, that look, there's no point trying to go through the complex formalities of having a civil marriage done. If you're having an Islamic marriage done, that's fine. Once your partner is pregnant or about to give birth, you can then at that stage apply for leave to remain. And whilst the application is being processed, you could inform the Home Office that there is now a child from your relationship, and based on the British child, you are likely to be granted leave to remain in the United Kingdom. So hopefully that answers the question. If you're not sure about the answer that I've given, or if you've got a follow-up question, please do feel free to send another message on that mobile number, or as always, you can get in touch with me on the landline number and speak to me live on air. Now, next question that's come in, again, an immigration law question from Brother Mustafa, who I think has been in touch with us quite a few times. Jazakallah, brother, for getting in touch. And it looks like the immigration process is progressing. I'm glad to see from your message. The current question that the brother is asking is, the brother is saying that he will be going to Morocco in order to get married. The person that he is going to be getting married to can't speak English well at the moment, has difficulty, but she's going to learn how to speak English. So that's where we are. So, as we've discussed before, and for the benefit of our viewers who are listening in today, where a partner is abroad and they will be making a spouse application to join you in the United Kingdom, normally there is an English requirement which needs to be fulfilled. The English requirement is quite strict. There are very, very limited exceptions to that. So the starting point normally always is that the spouse who's abroad, the applicant, could be your husband, could be your wife, whoever it is, will need to pass an English test. And the English test is at quite a basic level. So, and I understand what you're saying here, that your wife-to-be doesn't speak any English at all. A lot of people do find themselves in that situation. If they need to attend a college, if they need to attend a course, they have to do that. And they have to learn the basics of English. And there's a very low-level English test that needs to be passed. And that is one of the fundamental requirements that need to be fulfilled when a partner wants to come to the United Kingdom. The partner does have to do that. There are very limited exceptions to that. One exception is where the spouse who's abroad is 65 or over. In that situation, they would be exempt from the English language requirement. Occasionally, you come across that. The other way of being exempted from the English language requirement is where there is an illness, normally a mental illness, which prevents the person from learning the language, learning English at the required level. This exemption is actually applied very, very strictly. So there would have to be very good evidence as to why it is not possible for spouses abroad, the applicant who's applying, why that person is not able to learn basic English in order to apply for a spouse visa. So you need very strong medical evidence for that. Now, if you don't fall within these categories, so there's no age exemption, there's no illness exemption, then the English language requirement does have to be fulfilled. In the same way that you have to fulfill the financial requirement. You know, and we talk a lot about the financial requirement, the need to be earning enough, the way you demonstrate you're earning enough. The way in which it is absolutely paramount that the financial requirement is met, in the same way the English language requirement has to be met as well. So Brother Mustafa, hope your wife-to-be passes the test as soon as possible. In terms of then applying, we've looked at your finances before, and I won't go through them now live on air, but based on what we've discussed, I cannot see any difficulty with your finances. So the key thing here is your wife-to-be needs to pass the English test. Inshallah, once that's done, please do get in touch with me and we can look at the next steps in order to make a successful application for your wife to join you here in the United Kingdom. Going to be taking a short break. Inshallah, we'll be back in the next couple of minutes. See you again soon. Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Free Legal Advice Show on British Muslim TV. I'm your host, Ilyas Bulbulia. To speak to me live on air, please ring on the landline number which appears at the bottom of the screen. And to send us a message, you can do so on the mobile number. We've got a caller waiting, who's been waiting a while. Let's go to our next call. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, brother. Thank you for calling.
Brother, I'm calling from Southeast London.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay.
That I am in this country for 12 years.
Okay.
And my ILR visa on long residence was refused.
Okay.
And instead I was given 2.5 years discretionary leave.
Understand.
On basis of my children who were born here, but that time they were not UK citizens.
Understand. Yeah. Okay.
Now my discretionary leave is finishing in a couple of days,
Okay.
and I need to apply for a extension.
Understand. Yeah.
Someone advised me to look for a scheme called Zambrano Right or EU Settlement Scheme.
Understand. Yeah.
As my children are British national now, can I go for it?
Do you have a partner here as well?
Yes, my partner is with me as well, and she got indefinite leave to remain. And her,
No, you shouldn't use the Zambrano route. I mean, Zambrano route was really applicable for it's a situation where the children would have nobody to look after them if you were to be refused a visa. So, but here the scenario is different. Here, your wife has indefinite leave to remain, so your wife would be able to look after the children. So there's no point going for the Zambrano route. You should simply apply for leave to remain again. So I wouldn't make a Zambrano application. I would make a normal application again. Do you know, why was your long residence application refused?
due to I was on Tier 1 journal. Okay, and my application was refused due to some tax issues.
I understand. So
they refused my INR application.
Okay, so I'm just trying to work out when you'd be able to apply under long residence again. If there's an allegation of deception, I think you need 10 clear years before you're able to apply. But look, at this stage, it looks like you might have to go for another 2.5-year extension based on your children again. I wouldn't make the Zambrano application. I can't see how any Zambrano application would succeed here. And I wouldn't want to mess up
that would be refused, or would that affect my discretionary leave?
I have concerns about whether the Zambrano application would extend your current leave or not. Because Zambrano is a European application, it may not extend your current leave. So when the Zambrano application is refused, they'll give you discretionary leave again, but it may be that there's a gap now between the current visa expiring and the new discretionary leave application, which you might end up making in a year's time. There might
I should apply for discretionary leave
because the Zambrano
of the current visa.
Yeah, absolutely, because Zambrano has no prospect of success anyway. So I can't see why you'd want to go down that route. I would certainly go with another normal leave to remain application based on your children.
Okay, and regarding Zambrano, just for my knowledge, is that case still in Supreme Court and on hold, or those cases being decided, or?
I'm not too sure what's happening with the appeal against that. From my recollection, there was a possibility of that decision being appealed. I'm not familiar with where we are with that at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
But in your situation, I wouldn't risk making that application at all.
Okay, thank you very much for today.
Thank you very much indeed for your call.
Thank you.
We've got another caller who's been waiting for a while. Let's go to that call. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, brother. Thank you for calling. What's your question?
Yes, brother, I got a question regarding immigration.
Understand? Yep.
Yeah. So I did get the hearing last week.
Okay, understand.
Yeah, but do you know how long does it take for to get the decision?
For a human rights application?
No, it was a normal process.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Normal,
so you know, at the moment, were you extending your visa, or were you applying for the first time for a human?
It's the first time asylum case.
First time, ne? So, so is it an asylum application you've put in, or is it a human right?
Is it asylum?
It's an asylum application. So have you had your interview already?
I had my hearing done.
Okay.
Last week.
Oh, you've had your hearing done. Now, normally, so the tribunal judges always say you'll get our decision within 2 to 3 weeks. Generally, you do get a decision in 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes, if they're short-staffed, it might take 3 to 4 weeks. But timing is in weeks. In terms of the tribunal turning around their decision, a good sort of indicator is around 2 to 3 weeks to get a decision from the tribunal.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. But does the judge
Yep.
have told my solicitor that he is not against his submission
Okay.
that he made on behalf of me? So does that mean that he's going to grant it?
It sounds positive. I mean, I don't know exactly what's been said, but it certainly sounds positive if the judge is saying at a hearing that he's not against the submissions being made by your lawyer. Certainly sounds positive. Who knows? But well, it sounds hopeful. Let's just wait and see what you get. I mean, best of luck, inshallah. You're granted the visa
Okay,
that you've been waiting for.
Jazakallah.
Jazakallah. Thank you very much indeed for your call. Thank you. Thank you. Got another number of messages coming through. Let's look at. Let's take our next call and then return to this message. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. You're live on air.
Hello. Walaikum salam.
Walaikum salam. What's your question, sister?
My question is, basically, I sponsored my husband from Bangladesh.
I understand.
And he received his ILR in 2013. And it's one of those stories where you sponsor the husband. I'm born and brought up in Britain. And I sponsored my husband from back home with all my investment and my home and my work. And we have a baby. We had a baby in 2013. We had a baby in 2014. 2013, he got his ILR. Now, soon after the baby was born, he started causing problem with the rent and the council tax. He failed to provide proof of income. So since then, he left and he failed to return. It's been 7 long years. My child basically hasn't seen her father because he left when she was 26 weeks old, which is sad, but she's now 7. She's starting to understand. But now, on 5th of July, he applied for a divorce. Now, on the divorce, obviously he's a petitioner. On the divorce and the reason he's saying is unreasonable behavior. But then again, he left home in 2014. His absence has been for 7 long years. And I've got all the proof and all the documents that he's left because the crime references were there at that time. But now he's applied for the divorce. I've applied for a defense case using another solicitor. Now, what's the outcome of that kind of story that he's been absent, but then again he's making false accusation against the wife in order to obtain a divorce? Okay.
Now, what you need to decide is.
I can't hear you.
Okay. So the issue really is, in my view.
Can I put the phone down and watch you on the TV?
Yeah, of course you can.
Okay, Bhaiya. I just want you to know what's the outcome or what's the most possible outcome for the case. And will we be taken into court? Because obviously the court, I'm sure the court will understand because he's been causing problem with the local authority.
I understand. Thank you.
He's been causing problem with the London Borough of Tower Hamlets.
Completely.
He's failed to provide. That's the reason he's been left. But since it's been 7 long years, he hasn't returned. But now, for some reason, he's saying unreasonable behavior.
I understand.
And he wants to get obtain a divorce.
Sister, I understand. And as you've suggested, if you do put the phone down, as you've suggested, I'll answer your question very quickly. Jazakallah. Thank you very much for your call. Now, in my experience, the position really is this. I think you have to ask yourself, do you actually want the divorce or not? Because if you do want the divorce, you could say in response that I don't agree with the allegation being made of unreasonable behavior, but I'm not going to defend it because I want a divorce. I want this to be brought to an end. That's one position that you could take. You don't agree with the allegation, but you agree to the divorce. Now, it looks like you've decided to contest it. You can contest it. You're absolutely entitled to do that. If you continue to contest it, you will have to go to court. There will be a hearing, and the judge will then decide whether the allegation of unreasonable behavior has been made out or not. If the judge says it's not unreasonable behavior, then what will happen is that if the allegation isn't made out, you will succeed and he won't be able to proceed based on that. But I think we've got to step back a bit. You need to decide whether you want to bring the marriage to an end or not. If you do, then you can say that I don't agree with the allegations, but I want a divorce. That's one approach. The other is your approach, which is to fight it if you want. Potentially, if you've got the proof, there will be a hearing, and it looks like you could potentially succeed. I'm sorry I'm having to rush on the answer. We're quite short of time. A couple of questions I do also want to get through. But if you want to discuss this in greater detail, please do get in touch with me on next week's show, and I can have a more thorough discussion with you then. A couple of other questions that have come in. Another immigration question. Home Office has given leave to remain for 2.5 years. There are 3 children who have British passports as well. Will be in the UK for 10 years. Can we apply for indefinite leave to remain? Generally speaking, if you've lived in the UK legally for 10 years, you can apply for indefinite leave to remain based on 10 years legal residence. The key point is you must have lived in the UK legally for 10 years if you're going to rely on long residence. If you've have a period of non-legal residence, that would affect your application based on long residence. So the key thing is, if you've been living here for 10 years and you want to apply for ILR, your 10 years residence has to be legal. Hope that answers your question. We've had a number of other questions coming in on WhatsApp. We've had callers waiting. Unfortunately, we are coming close to the end of the show. I do apologize if I haven't been able to address all the questions. I will be back next week and we can look at your questions then. Inshallah, we'll be back next week. Until then, Assalamu alaikum.